Jerome Powell just completely flipped the narrative. Let's talk about it. Hello everybody, Joe Werber coming at you. And if you've been following my channel for the past few months, for the past few years, you know that I like to discuss Jerome Powell, the current federal chairman. And the reason I like to discuss him is because he has so much power over what happens to you on a day-to-day basis, how your money works within our financial system. It all revolves around Jerome Powell. And when we talk about the power that the Fed chairman has, when he changes interest rates, that affects you in so many ways. It makes you pay more money to purchase a house. It may increase or reduce the interest that you earn on your checking, on your savings account, on your money market account. It could increase the cost of that credit card loan or that small home equity loan, or just that loan that you have in general. Maybe you want to buy a car. Maybe you're just borrowing money to improve upon your house. Jerome Powell affects all of that. And remember, he is not an elected official. He is appointed by the US president. And for the last year and a half, he has set a tone about his desire to get inflation down. He has repeated the same mantra over and over again.
But inflation is still too high. Ongoing progress in bringing it down is not assured, and the path forward is uncertain. I want to assure the American people that we are fully committed to returning inflation to our 2% goal, and we remain strongly committed to bringing inflation back down to our 2% goal.
But just this past week, he flipped the narrative and he changed his goal for inflation in this country.
So where that leaves us is we've made quite a bit of progress in bringing inflation back down to our target. While the labor market has remained strong and growth has continued, we want that process to continue. I think the last reading and the one before it in inflation, the one before it to a lesser extent, do suggest that we are getting back on a disinflationary path. We want to be more confident that inflation is moving sustainably down toward 2% before we start the process of reducing how tight our policy is, of loosening policy.
Did you hear that? Did you see the difference? Let's listen to it again. This is what Jerome was saying in the past.
We are strongly committed to returning inflation to our 2% goal.
And this is what he just said this past week.
That inflation is moving sustainably down toward 2%.
He said they want to be more confident that inflation is moving down towards 2%, not that it has hit 2%. And I've always looked at our economy kind of like an aircraft carrier. You know, when you get an aircraft carrier going in the ocean, you know, Newton's law says that when you have an object in motion, it tends to stay in motion. And so when they want to stop an aircraft carrier at port, they don't start slowing down a few hundred feet or maybe even a few miles. They start slowing down way outside of port, hundreds of miles away. They start slowing that sucker down because there's no brakes in an aircraft carrier. The same thing holds true with our economy. Once our economy heats up and it starts going, it runs well. Sometimes it overheats. And so what Powell has been trying to do, he's been trying to slow it down and bring that aircraft carrier in without crashing it into the port. And the way he's been doing that is by adjusting our interest rate. He sets the federal funds rate, and he's been keeping it artificially high in hopes that the economy slows down. But his mantra has been, we need to see inflation hit 2%. We need to see inflation get to 2%. And my concern this entire time has been, well, if he waits till inflation gets to 2%, till he starts, reducing interest rates, maybe like a pendulum, it's going to swing too far. Maybe like an aircraft carrier, it's going to come crashing into port. And what we're going to have is we're going to have inflation fall to 1% and 0%. Maybe we run into deflation. And that has been my concern. But he has just said those words I've been waiting for, and that is he wants to see inflation moving towards 2%. Now, I find it kind of interesting that he just changed the tone on that, because the federal chairman is a position that is set by the US president. It is not a position that we elect. And this past week, if you weren't living under a rock, you saw that we had a pretty crazy debate with current President Biden and Donald Trump. And during that debate, Biden did not do a very good job. And a lot of people are calling for him to step down. So I find it interesting that the individual who is in charge of picking the federal chairman, who wants this economy to be robust, had such a poor performance, and maybe, just maybe, he may have reached out to the federal chairman and said, hey, if you want to stay in this position, because word has gotten around that maybe Trump won't keep Powell in that position. Maybe Biden reached out and said, hey, we need to make this economy look better than what it is. So we need to get interest rates under control. And maybe there was some pressure from the White House for Jerome Powell to switch his tone and say, maybe we just need to get inflation heading towards 2% rather than right at 2%. Tell me what you think below, if you think there was any involvement from the White House in this. But I'm happy about this. I'm happy because that means that maybe we're going to start seeing interest rates fall. And once we start to see interest rates fall, we're going to see mortgage rates fall. And when we see mortgage rates fall, people are going to feel wealthier. They're going to feel like they can spend more money. And hopefully we'll see this economy continue to grow. If you like videos like this, make sure you subscribe. Hit that like button. Leave a comment down below for ideas for future videos. And as always, I'll see you next time. And if you're wondering where I am, I'm currently not in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, nor am I in Arizona. I'm actually down in an island where we just narrowly missed Hurricane Beryl, who came roaring through here just off our coast. I just hope that all the people who were affected by the hurricane, I hope that they get the help they need. Send prayers and good wishes to them. Because here in Dominica, we luckily missed the hurricane. We felt some of the wind and some of the rain, but we did not get the brunt of his storm.